Let's jump over to the Pac-12 Championship game, a rematch that we chose a few short weeks ago where I picked the Oregon Ducks, you picked the Washington Huskies. You came out on top in that one. I walked away with my head held high. The number 5 Oregon Ducks take on the number 3 Washington Huskies. This is an 8 o'clock kickoff on Friday night on ABC. ESPN.com gives Oregon a whopping favorite, a 75.8% chance to win this game. And Oregon currently favored by 9.5. I believe it was 9 points this morning. Now it's jumped up to 9.5. Playing at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, as I mentioned. Neutral siding, Brad, that could change a lot. The last time we saw these two teams play, Oregon was playing on the road in Seattle at Washington. Does that make a difference this week in your pick? Who wins this Pac-12 championship game?
Nate, this is a fun one. I mean, you've got all the big storylines. You've got Michael Penix versus Bo Nix. You've got explosive receivers on both sides of the ball. Nate, this one to me comes down to Oregon is playing so much better than Washington right now. I mean, you look at Nate. Ever since that game, Oregon's just they've played better. They've been more consistent. We've seen Washington struggle with some. I mean, Nate, we didn't mention this one. They had a very, very tough game with Washington State in the Apple Cup this past Saturday. So I'm going with the Ducks in this one. I think the big difference is that Oregon defense. Washington just does not have the playmakers and the difference makers that Oregon does. I think Bo Nix continues to have a huge season. And this is, to me, a guy that I think Jaden Daniels is going to win the Heisman. Bo Nix, to me, is going to be a very close second. And I think he has a big game Friday night. Give me the Ducks. I think it's a close game. I think it's a single score, and I think it's a shootout.
Yeah, Brad, you made a lot of great points. Bo Nix versus Michael Penix, two potential Heisman candidate favorites. Then you look at a guy like Bucky Irvin at the running back position for Oregon, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's played phenomenal as well. And then Troy Franklin at the receiver position for Oregon, over 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. I mean, these two have been connecting day in and day out at practice, and it shows on Saturday on the fields. And then you look at Washington receiver Odunze, I believe is how you pronounce it, over 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns as well. These are two high-flying offenses. Brad, I mentioned the last time of Oregon having the better defense, and you mentioned Washington has kind of taken a tumble over the last few weeks. When you look at their schedule at USC, they gave up 52 points. Or I'm sorry, they gave up 42 against USC. At Utah, they gave up 28 points. They hold Oregon State to 20. That was a rainy, brutal game in Corvallis. And then they give up 21 to Washington State. Granted, the competition has been a little bit different, but when you look at Washington only beating Oregon State by 2 points, Oregon runs away with it. Granted, they're at home. I get it. 31-7, but Bo Nix was just lights out as well. Brad, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I'm gonna take the Oregon Ducks. I just think they're the better team. I think they get it done. I think they get their revenge. And let's see what happens in the Heisman race. Maybe Bo Nix takes that jump, considering that this is a top 5 matchup. Maybe even though Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, deserves it as well, maybe the voters see a top 5 matchup if Bo Nix comes out and throws 5-6 touchdowns. That could be the difference maker. So we'll see what happens. That concludes today's episode. When we come back next time, we're going to discuss our championship weekend recap, and we're going to break down our Navy versus Army and FCS playoff game previews and predictions. Great matchups ahead. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to discuss our bowl predictions for the bowl season. Please be sure to subscribe. Give this video a big thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Follow us on all socials at @BreakTheHuddle_. And be sure to turn on that bell notification so you can stay up to date when we post our latest videos. And let us know in the comments who you believe will win this week's matchup. From Break the Huddle Studios, this is Nathan and Brad signing off.